What's up guys, Jimmy here with another video. Today I'm going to show you a whole bunch of Bioware games. I am so excited. I'm a big fan of Bioware games. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. So before we begin, I just want to clarify, this is not a complete collection of Bioware games. There are other Bioware games out there, just a phenomenal company. It's actually started by a couple of medical doctors. And actually when they started making games, or had a game company, Bioware Corp, they actually were still practicing medicine. And in time, their company became so successful and so demanding that they had to stop practicing medicine. But I find that very interesting. They are first medical doctors, and they're like, let's get into the gaming industry. And they've done very well. First start off here, talk about Baldurs Gate 2. Now of course there is a Baldurs Gate 1. Baldurs Gate 2 and Baldurs Gate 1, the cool thing is this game was loved by a lot of people, and it's actually being remade for the PC, and I heard that it's also going to be remade for consoles as well. Really excited about that. It's being remade with an HD remastering like a lot of the other big hit or big known games of the day. It's getting its own treatment. There's also been rumor that a Baldurs Gate 3 will be in the works in the near future. We'll have to wait and see on that. So the next one, Neverwinter Nights. Now, if you are into Dungeons and Dragons, actually Bioware and Wizards of the Coast collaborated with this. Bioware got the authority or license from the Wizards of the Coast, and so a lot of the elements that you'll find in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, you'll also find in the Neverwinter Nights game. A very solid RPG with some really just phenomenal expansions. Definitely check out Neverwinter Nights when you get the chance. Okay, the next one that I'm going to show you, this one is for the PC, but it's also available for the original Xbox, and that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Now this is a game, just a phenomenal RPG that gave you the opportunity to select and choose if you wanted to make good choices, help out people, or if you wanted to choose if you wanted to use the Force for your dark purposes, if you wanted to choose the dark side. This was actually a hit not only for the PC, but it was a hit for the Xbox, original Xbox as well. There was a sequel that was not developed by Bioware, and of course you have a Knights of the Old Republic or Old Republic MMO that's available for the PC right now. One game that I find interesting that a lot of people don't really talk a whole lot about, and that is MDK2 for the PlayStation 2. It was also made available for the Dreamcast and the PC. I believe it was for the Dreamcast and PC first, and they brought it to the PlayStation 2. An incredible third-person shooter. The first one was not made by Bioware. Bioware made MDK2, and you play these different levels, and you, depending on which levels you play, for the most part, you get to play one of 3 different people. There's a scientist you can play. There's also like a 6-legged dog you can play, and it's just a very fun game with a really nice sense of humor. This, to be honest guys, MDK2 is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. In my opinion, it's one of the most overlooked games for the PlayStation 2. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. Like I said, it's also available for the PC and the Sega Dreamcast. So the next game I'm going to talk about is a game that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. This was Bioware's first ever Nintendo DS game. I'm trying to think of any other games, if they even did any other DS games. But that is Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood. You know, this is a game that I had looked forward to for so long. And you know, I played it, and to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed. It is an RPG with some colorful graphics, turn-based battles. The battles kind of reminded me of like Final Fantasy. For whatever reason, I just really lost interest with this one. I was really disappointed with Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Maybe I need to give it another try. Who knows? Maybe I'll play it another one of these days. But I thought, you know, Sonic, done by Bioware, this is a win-win. But unfortunately, I was a little bit disappointed. It's not a horrible game. I just lost interest in it. It wasn't anything, you know, a lot of the other Bioware games that just pulled me in. I didn't really feel that with this one, unfortunately. Okay. So the next one, Dragon Age Origins for the PlayStation 3. This one actually I ended up getting when I went to EA Games in Redwood City. I had the chance to go there 2 or 3 years ago, whenever this game was released. And I had the chance to go to EA and play test a game that they're developing. And for my time, they gave me a free game of my choice. And at the time, Dragon Age Origins had just been released. And I picked this one up. And man, just a very fun and engrossing fantasy RPG with great writing, a very high quality score, great soundtrack, and a whole lot of downloadable content. If you're interested in this one, definitely check out, I believe there's like a greatest hits or game of the year edition, but definitely check that one out if you're interested in picking up the first Dragon Age game. The sequel, Dragon Age 2, a lot of people were really disappointed with and really did not like. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. You know, it was definitely different. The change of pace in terms of combat was definitely different from the first Dragon Age game, but I enjoyed Dragon Age 2 for what it was. I think it's a good game, and apparently Dragon Age 3 has already been confirmed, so it'll be really interesting to see what takes place with the development for that and how Bioware considers some of the feedback that they received from gamers in terms of how a lot of people didn't like Dragon Age 2. We'll have to wait and see on that. Okay, another game, in my opinion, that really was overlooked by a lot of gamers, unfortunately, and that is Jade Empire. This is a game that was also made available for the PC. This one, of course, is for the original Xbox, and this one, the fights are done in real time, and it is, of course, an RPG. And you get to select your character, select the fighting style, and also there's different weapons that you'll pick up in the game. Certain moments in the game, it's almost like bullet time, but you don't have bullets in terms of the way you can attack your enemies. You can level up your enemies the way you see fit. And in the beginning of the game, when you select a character, you get to select a different fighting style that each character has. I selected kind of like a monk, slow moving, but had a lot of power. And I usually do that with games. I select the guy or girl that isn't that fast moving, but maybe has the heavy weapons or the high powered attacks. But Jade Empire just has a really good story. Bioware did a great job on this. Some of the areas that you'll get to explore were very engrossing. There's actually, during certain parts of the game, as you're going from one level to the next, there's kind of like this top overhead shooter. Kind of reminded me of like 1942 shooter in the game, which definitely was a change of pace. I know Kingdom Hearts has kind of like a shooter mini game or a shooter that you get to play, skipping from one world to the next. But Jade Empire, definitely check it out. Check it out for the PC. There's a special edition for that, I think with updated visuals. I don't know if there's going to be Jade Empire 2, which is just such a shame because I really enjoyed the first Jade Empire game, and it's definitely worth checking out. Okay, the final 3 games I'm going to talk about are Mass Effect games. The first Mass Effect game, there was just so much hype, and I was really well pleased with what I got with the first Mass Effect game. There were some issues. I know the combat turned off a lot of people, but in terms of a solid RPG, Mass Effect had it. And I'll never forget the day I beat the first Mass Effect game. I don't know if I spent like 30 or 40 hours playing through it for my first playthrough. And I remember finishing it right after that. I was just, I knew, they had already said, Bioware had said that the Mass Effect series is going to be a 3-part story. And so I was just so excited to beat the first Mass Effect game. I'll never forget, the game had only been out for about a month, maybe a month and a half, maybe less than that when I finished it. And I went straight to my computer and I went online. I'm like, oh man, there has to be some type of information or some details talking about Mass Effect 2, and there's absolutely nothing, just zilch. I was just so bummed, because I loved playing through this one, because it just, being able to explore the galaxies, and take down the different enemies, visit the different worlds and planets. The storytelling was done very, very well. Exploring the Citadel, to be honest, I had the most fun exploring the Citadel in the first Mass Effect game that I had in any of the other Mass Effect games. They did the Citadel very well in Mass Effect 1. Now with Mass Effect 2, some issues that people were complaining about in terms of the controls and gameplay combat were fixed with the second Mass Effect game. The second Mass Effect game, some people were kind of concerned though, because it felt like it was a little bit too fast-paced or a little bit too much shooter in their RPG. I mean, there's plenty of shooter and shooting moments in the first Mass Effect game. I like Mass Effect 2. Has a phenomenal story. The cool thing about the Mass Effect games, for those of you that don't know, is that when you play a Mass Effect game and finish it, you can import your character in the sequel, or import, export. Play the new one, and it says, do you want to use your character that used or completed the previous Mass Effect game? Say yes, you do so, and your character's at a certain level. Mass Effect 2, definitely a solid game, which is also available for the PC and PlayStation 3. Now with Mass Effect 3, of course, there's been a lot of controversy. A lot of people were really bummed and upset about the ending. I really enjoyed Mass Effect 3. I had said this before, a lot of the elements that I enjoyed in the first Mass Effect game were in Mass Effect 3. But Mass Effect 3 is a game that I really enjoyed. A great score, an incredible storyline, awesome shooting gameplay moments, and I love the different planets that I got to explore. I thought these planets were done very well. Some of these planets are just downright gorgeous. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what type of downloadable content or expansions are going to be available for Mass Effect 3 in the near future. The game's only been out for a little over a month, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But anyway, guys, there is a quick look at some or most of the Bioware games that Bioware is responsible for. And like I said, it is not a complete Bioware collection, but definitely let me know your thoughts on some of your favorite Bioware games. If you'd like, leave a video response, make a video response. I'll make sure to check that out. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for your support. And if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I'll talk to you guys later.